always thought my family was my greatest treasure, until I realized they were the ones stealing from me. The sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting warm rays on the worn wooden table where I'd spent countless hours sharing meals with my children. Memories of laughter and love filled the air, but now there was an unsettling silence that made my heart ache. My name is Judith, and I'm 68 years old. I spent decades as a bank manager, teaching my children the importance of integrity and hard work. I raised them to believe that family was the backbone of our lives, that loyalty and trust were the very foundations of our relationships. But as I stood in that kitchen, I felt the cracks beginning to show. I was preparing for a family gathering, a small celebration for my son Michael's latest promotion. I wanted everything to be perfect, to remind them of the love we shared. As I chopped vegetables for the salad, I couldn't help but feel a flutter of excitement. But deep down, a whisper of doubt nagged at me. Was I truly ready for them to come over? Just as I finished arranging the flowers on the table, my phone rang. It was Michael. "Hey, Mom, I need you to do me a favor," he said, his voice cheerful yet tinged with urgency. "What is it, sweetheart?" I asked, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "I need you to sign some documents for me. It's for a family investment. Just a formality, I promise," he replied, almost too casually. "Of course," I said, feeling a twinge of unease. I trusted my son, he was my pride and joy, but something about the way he spoke felt off. "What kind of investment?" "It's really nothing major, Mom. Just some paperwork for a new partnership. I'll bring the documents over later. Don't worry about a thing." His tone was reassuring, yet a part of me wanted to dig deeper. I brushed the feeling aside. After all, how could I question his intentions after all the love and guidance I had given him? As the day progressed, I found myself preparing not just for dinner, but for another round of family dynamics. I wanted to believe in the goodness of my children, to believe they would never betray me. Dinner came and went, filled with laughter and stories. But as I watched them interact, I felt an unsettling shift in the atmosphere, a tension simmering beneath the surface. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it echoed in the way Michael avoided making eye contact and in the way Jessica, my daughter-in-law, seemed overly attentive to Michael's every word. After everyone left, I sat alone in the quiet of my home. The remnants of dinner still scattered across the table felt like a stark reminder of the chaos that was about to unfold. A few days later, I received a letter from my bank. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing a list of transactions that made my heart race. Large withdrawals, all made without my knowledge. My mind raced back to the documents Michael had asked me to sign. Had I unknowingly signed away my rights? They had always said that trust was the foundation of family. But now, I felt as if I had built my home on sand and the tide was coming in. "Judith, you need to see this," I told myself, my voice shaking as I dialed my friend Helen's number. "I need help." As I spoke with Helen, I felt a mix of fear and determination. I had to confront my children, but deep down, I feared the truth. What if they had betrayed me? What if everything I believed about our family was a lie? Yet I knew I had to find out. My instincts told me to dig deeper, to uncover the truth behind their smiles. And as I hung up the phone, a sense of resolve washed over me. I wouldn't let them take everything away from me without a fight. Little did I know, that call would change everything. A week later, as I sat at my kitchen table, a sense of dread filled my chest. The letter from the bank lingered in my mind, its implications weighing heavily on me. I had ignored that nagging feeling when Michael asked me to sign those documents. I thought I was just being paranoid, but now I was starting to see the truth unfold. The morning sun streamed through the window, but it felt colder than usual. I poured myself a cup of coffee, hoping its warmth would chase away the chills creeping up my spine. As I sipped, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I decided to go through my financial statements again, hoping to find some explanation that would calm my racing heart. As I flipped through the papers, my hands shook. The numbers on the page blurred as panic settled in. Large withdrawals, transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of it all. No, 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 I whispered to myself, my voice barely audible over the pounding in my chest. This can't be happening. I picked up my phone and dialed my bank, my fingers trembling as I waited for someone to answer. Yes, I need to report some suspicious activity on my account, I said, my voice steady but Why heart pounding in my ears? After what felt like hours, I finally spoke to a representative who walked me through the recent transactions. Ma'am, these withdrawals were authorized under your name, she said, her tone professional yet distant. It appears that your signature was verified. My stomach dropped, but I didn't authorize these transactions. I need to know how this happened. I could feel the anger rising, a desperate need for answers. Ma'am, I suggest you consult with legal counsel regarding this matter, she replied, her voice cold and unyielding. I felt a wave of despair wash over me as I hung up the phone. I was alone in this fight, and it felt insurmountable. I knew I had to confront Michael and Jessica, but how did I even begin to approach them? The very thought of accusing my children of betrayal sent chills down my spine. That evening, as I prepared for dinner, the weight of the situation sat heavily on my shoulders. I decided to confront them directly. I texted Michael, asking him to come over. We need to talk, I typed, my heart racing at the thought of the conversation to come. As the clock ticked closer to the time he was due to arrive, I paced the living room, my mind racing with what-ifs. What if they denied everything? What if they turned it around on me, claiming I was losing my mind? I couldn't allow myself to be intimidated. I had to stand my ground. When Michael arrived, he greeted me with a smile that felt like a mask. Hey, Mom, what's up? He asked, stepping inside. Sit down, Michael, I said firmly, pointing to the chair across from me. The warmth of the room felt stifling as I prepared for the confrontation. He hesitated for a moment, his smile faltering. Okay, what's this about? I need to know about the documents you had me sign, I said, my voice steady. I've noticed some suspicious transactions on my account, and I need you to explain. His expression shifted, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. Mom, you're overreacting. It's just an investment and you sign the papers. Trust me, it's all legitimate. Legitimate? I shot back, the anger bubbling to the surface. I'm losing money and you think I should just trust you. I want to see those documents again. Michael's demeanor changed. You don't need to see anything. You're just confused, he said, his voice rising defensively. We're family. I would never do anything to hurt you. I could feel the tension thickening the air between us, and I pressed on. You think I'm confused? I know what I saw, and I know what I signed. You've taken my trust and turned it into a weapon. He shifted in his seat, suddenly uncomfortable. Mom, you're being dramatic. You need to relax. Dramatic, I echoed, my voice trembling. You're the one who's being deceptive. I trusted you both. Just as I was about to push further, the doorbell rang. It was Jessica. I felt my stomach twist into knots as I knew she would side with Michael. As she walked in, the room's atmosphere shifted. She sensed the tension immediately. What's going on here? She asked, her brow furrowed as she glanced between us. Your husband is trying to brush aside my concerns about those documents, I replied, feeling the weight of both their gazes on me. Mom, we did this for you, she said, her voice dripping with insincerity. You need to trust us. We're looking out for your best interests. I felt a surge of frustration. Looking out for my best interests? Then why does it feel like you're stealing from me? The confrontation escalated, their denials echoing in my mind. I was losing my grip on the situation. You both need to tell me the truth, I demanded. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I glanced at it and saw a message from Emma, my granddaughter. Grandma, I found something out about Michael and Jessica. Can I come over? I felt a glimmer of hope as I looked back at my children. We're not done here, I said firmly. I have someone who can help me uncover the truth. A week later, my heart raced as I waited for Emma to arrive. The tension in my home felt suffocating, and I could still hear the echoes of my confrontation with Michael and Jessica. They had brushed off my concerns, their dismissive words playing over and over in my mind. But now, with Emma coming over, I felt a flicker of hope. I just had to hold on to that hope. The doorbell rang, and I rushed to answer it, opening the door to find my granddaughter standing there with a determined look on her face. "Grandma, can I come in?" she asked, her eyes scanning the room as if she was looking for something. "Of course, sweetheart, come in." I stepped aside and she entered, her presence instantly bringing a sense of comfort. "I'm glad you're here. We need to talk." As we settled into the living room, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. "What do you know about Michael and Jessica?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly with anticipation. Emma took a deep breath. Our expressions serious. "I overheard them talking the other day when I was visiting. They were discussing some financial issues, and then I heard them mention you. They were saying things like, 'She won't even notice if we take her money and just get her to sign the papers.'" My stomach dropped. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief wash over me. "They were plotting against me," I whispered, my voice shaky. "Yeah, Grandma, I didn't want to believe it either. But then I found something in Michael's old room, papers that looked like they were about you. I think they were signing your name to things without you knowing," Emma continued, her voice filled with urgency. "Do you have them?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "We need to expose them." Emma nodded, reaching into her bag and pulling out a folder. "I took these when they weren't looking. I thought you'd want to see them." As I flipped through the papers, my heart raced. There were documents that looked like they had my signature on them, but something felt off. "This doesn't look like my handwriting," I murmured, tracing a finger over the scrawl. "They forged my signature." Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "What are you going to do? They need to be stopped." I felt a surge of determination rise within me. "I'm going to confront them again, but this time I'll have proof," I stated, my voice steady. I could feel the power of the truth beginning to fuel my resolve. Just then, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Helen. "Judith, I'm here for you if you need to talk. Let's meet up." I hesitated for a moment, but then I felt a sense of urgency. I needed to gather all the support I could get. "Emma, would you like to come with me to see Helen? She might have some advice on how to handle this," I suggested, glancing at her with hope. "Of course. I'd love to," she replied, her enthusiasm brightening the mood. As we drove to Helen's house, I felt a sense of purpose. I was no longer just a victim. I was ready to take back control. Emma sat beside me, her presence a comforting reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. When we arrived at Helen's, she welcomed us with open arms. "Judith, it's so good to see you," she said, pulling me into a warm hug. "And you must be Emma. I've heard so much about you." "Thanks, Ms. Helen," Emma replied, a shy smile spreading across her face. We settled into Helen's cozy living room, and I wasted no time. "I need your help. I think Michael and Jessica are trying to steal from me," I began, my voice steady but laced with emotion. I quickly explained everything that had happened, from the forged documents to Emma's discovery. Helen listened intently, her brow furrowing with concern as I recounted the details. "Judith, this is serious. You need to gather all the evidence you can," she stated, her voice firm. "Have you thought about consulting a lawyer?" "I was just about to suggest that," Emma chimed in, her eyes wide with determination. "We can't let them get away with this." Exactly, I nodded, feeling a surge of strength. I need to prepare myself for what's coming. I can't let them take away everything I've worked for. Helen offered to help connect me with a lawyer who specialized in elder law. You deserve to have your voice heard, Judith. We'll get through this together, she assured me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. As we discussed next steps, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. For the first time since I discovered the betrayal, I felt empowered. I had my granddaughter by my side, and I had Helen's unwavering support. That evening, I returned home with a newfound determination. I knew I had to confront Michael and Jessica again, but this time, I would be armed with the truth. As I lay in bed that night, I reflected on the events that had unfolded. The betrayal stung like a fresh wound, but I was no longer willing to be silent. The next morning, I awoke with a sense of urgency rushing through me. Today was the day I would confront my children with the evidence Emma and I had gathered. It was time to take back my power. As I brewed my morning coffee, I felt a mix of apprehension and determination. After breakfast, I decided to call the lawyer Helen recommended. "Hello, this is Judith," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to discuss a serious matter regarding some forgery and potential theft within my family." The lawyer listened attentively as I explained my situation, and I could feel the gravity of my words weighing heavily in the air. "Judith, it sounds like you need to act quickly," he said after I finished. "I can help you file a complaint and potentially take legal action against them, but we'll need to gather as much evidence as possible. Can you come into the office today?" I agreed to meet him, feeling a surge of hope. "Thank you," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I appreciate your help." After hanging up, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I knew this confrontation with Michael, and Jessica, would not be easy. They were my children, and the thought of accusing them of such betrayal left a bitter taste in my mouth. But I had to protect myself and my future. Emma arrived shortly after, her energy infectious. "Are you ready for this, Grandma?" she asked, her eyes bright with determination. "As ready as I can be," I replied, forcing a smile. "I'm meeting with a lawyer today to discuss the next steps." "Good, I'll come with you," she insisted. "You shouldn't go alone." I felt a rush of gratitude for her support. "Thank you, Emma. I'd like that." As we drove to the lawyer's office, I couldn't help but reflect on how the dynamics of my family had shifted so drastically. I had always believed that love and loyalty would shield us from betrayal, yet here I was, fighting against the very people I had devoted my life to. The weight of my thoughts pressed heavily on my heart, but I reminded myself of my mission, to reclaim my life. When we arrived, the lawyer greeted us with a firm handshake and a reassuring smile. "Judith, it's good to meet you. Emma, thank you for being here to support your grandmother," he said. We settled into his office, and I began sharing my story again, recounting the events that had led to this moment. As I spoke, the lawyer took notes, nodding in understanding. "What you're describing is a serious breach of trust, and we will take this very seriously," he said, his tone professional but sympathetic. After discussing the details, he explained the legal options available to me. "We can file an injunction to prevent them from accessing any more of your funds, and we'll begin the process to investigate the forgery," he said. "It's essential to act swiftly." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Finally, I was taking concrete steps to protect myself. "What happens if they deny everything?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. "Then we gather the evidence, including any financial records and documents you have. It's important to build a solid case," he replied. "But do not underestimate the power of the truth. We will stand by you." As the meeting concluded, I felt empowered. I was no longer just the victim, I was taking control of my narrative. Emma and I left the office, and I couldn't help but smile as we walked to the car. "You've got this, Grandma," Emma said, her faith in me shining brightly. Thank you for believing in me, sweetheart, I said, my heart swelling with pride. I wouldn't have the strength to face this without you. That evening, I decided to confront Michael and Jessica again, but this time I would approach it differently. Armed with knowledge and support, I felt ready to tackle the situation head-on. As they arrived for dinner, I noticed the tension in the air. Their casual demeanor felt forced, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they knew something was coming. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. Thank you both for coming, I said, trying to keep my tone steady. There's something important we need to discuss. Michael glanced at Jessica, his eyes narrowing slightly. What's up, Mom? I looked them both in the eye, my heart pounding. I know about the forgeries. I've seen the documents, and I'm not going to let you take advantage of me any longer. The room fell silent, and I could feel the weight of my words hanging in the air. Michael shifted uncomfortably, while Jessica's eyes widened in surprise. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice shaky. I'm talking about the withdrawals from my account, the documents you had me sign. I know you forged my signature, I replied, my voice firm. Michael's expression shifted to one of anger. You're being paranoid, Mom. You signed those papers. It's all perfectly legal. No, it's not, I shot back, feeling a rush of adrenaline. I trusted you both, and you've betrayed that trust. I'm taking legal action. Their faces fell, and I could see the realization wash over them. I had drawn the line, and I wasn't backing down. I'm done being the victim, I said, my voice steady. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions. The tension in the room was palpable, hanging in the air like a thick fog. My heart raced as I watched Michael and Jessica process my words. I could see the anger flickering in their eyes, but beneath that anger lay something else. Fear. Fear that their deception would unravel before them, and that their comfortable lives would come crashing down. Mom, you don't know what you're talking about, Michael said, his voice strained. He shifted in his seat, glancing at Jessica for support. You've always been quick to jump to conclusions. This is just another one of your dramatics. I took a deep breath, grounding myself. Dramatic? Is that what you call it? I've spent my life caring for you both, and this is how you repay me. By stealing from me. My voice rose, fueled by the anger and betrayal I felt. Jessica, trying to regain control of the situation, leaned forward. Judith, we're family. We would never do anything to hurt you. You have to believe us. But doubt had crept into my heart, and I could no longer give them the benefit of the doubt. I had Emma look into things, and she found evidence of your lies. I have proof now, I declared, my heart pounding with the thrill of finally standing my ground. Emma, what does she know? Michael scoffed, clearly underestimating my granddaughter. She's just a kid. Don't you dare dismiss her, I shot back, my voice firm. Emma is smarter than you think. She's been my ally in this, and she's the one who uncovered your deceit. I won't let you manipulate me any longer. Michael's face turned red with anger. You're going to let a child turn you against your own family? This is just ridiculous, he spat, his frustration evident. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, but I refused to back down. What you've done is not only illegal, but it's also a betrayal of everything we've built as a family. I trusted you both, and now I'm taking action. I've spoken to a lawyer, and we're preparing to file charges. The room fell silent as my words sank in. I watched as the reality of my declarations settled over them. Michael's bravado began to fade, replaced by a look of panic. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't actually take us to court, would you? Oh, I absolutely will, I replied, feeling a surge of empowerment at the thought. You've forced my hand, and I won't allow you to take what's rightfully mine. This isn't just about money, it's about trust and respect. Just then, my phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from Emma. Grandma, I'm on my way over. I found something important. My heart raced at the prospect of her arrival. She was coming to support me, to stand as a testament to the truth. "Mom, you need to think about this," Jessica said, her tone shifting to a more pleading note. "You might ruin our family forever." I shook my head. "You've already done that by your actions. I'm merely taking back control of my life." As if on cue, the doorbell rang, and I felt a rush of relief mixed with anticipation. "That's Emma," I said, standing up. "And you two need to prepare yourselves for the truth." When I opened the door, Emma stood there, her face flushed with excitement. "Grandma, I have something I need to show you," she exclaimed, holding out a piece of paper. "What is it?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "I found a copy of the documents that they tried to hide from you. I think it's going to help us," Emma said, her eyes shining with determination. I ushered her inside and closed the door, turning back to Michael and Jessica. "Looks like the truth is coming to light, whether you like it or not," I declared, feeling a sense of triumph swell within me. Emma unfolded the paper and handed it to me. As I scanned the document, my heart raced. This was a detailed account of the transactions, with timestamps and signatures. "This proves they forged my name," I exclaimed, my voice filled with disbelief and anger. Michael's face paled, and I could see the panic in his eyes as he realized we had evidence against him. "You're making a mistake, Mom. This isn't what you think," he stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. "No, Michael, this is exactly what I think," I countered, feeling empowered. "You thought you could take advantage of me, but now I have the proof to fight back." As I looked at Emma, I felt a rush of gratitude for her support. She was my unexpected ally in this fight, and together, we would expose the truth. "Let's go to the lawyer's office tomorrow," I said, my resolve strengthening. "We'll show him everything we've found and take the next steps to protect what's mine." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I'll be there with you, Grandma. We're in this together." As we began to devise our strategy, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I had once again found my voice, and I was ready to reclaim my life. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose that I hadn't felt in weeks. The sun streamed through my bedroom window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, and for the first time, I felt ready to fight back. I had Emma by my side, and together we were going to uncover the truth about Michael and Jessica's betrayal. As we drove to the lawyer's office, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Emma, are you sure you want to do this?" I asked, glancing at her. "It might get messy." "Absolutely, Grandma. I want to help you. You deserve justice," she replied confidently, her eyes sparkling with determination. Her enthusiasm was infectious and helped ease some of my worries. When we arrived at the lawyer's office, I took a deep breath. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with legal texts, and the air was thick with the scent of polished wood and fresh coffee. The receptionist greeted us warmly, and it felt reassuring to know that we were in a place dedicated to fighting for what was right. "Judith, I'm glad to see you again," the lawyer said as he led us into his office. "And this must be your granddaughter, Emma. It's great to have you here." "Thank you for meeting with us," I said, my voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in my stomach. "I have some documents that I believe will help prove my case." "Let's take a look," he said, gesturing for me to lay out the evidence on his desk. I handed him the folder Emma had found, and together we reviewed the documents detailing the forged signatures and unauthorized transactions. As the lawyer examined the papers, I felt my heart race. This was it. This was the moment I had been waiting for. "These documents show that my signature was forged," I said, watching his expression carefully. He nodded, his brow furrowing as he scanned the pages. "This is serious, Judith. If we can prove these forgeries, we can take legal action against your children. But we'll need to act quickly to prevent them from accessing any more of your funds." I felt a surge of adrenaline. "I'm ready to do whatever it takes," I replied, my voice firm. I won't let them get away with this. After discussing the legal process, the lawyer explained the steps we would take to file a complaint and pursue the forgery charges. We'll need to gather more evidence, including witness statements and any additional documentation you might have, he said. Emma, do you have any information about what you overheard? Emma nodded, her face serious. I heard them say they were going to use Grandma's money to fund some business venture. They thought she wouldn't notice. The lawyer looked impressed. That's valuable information. If we can find more witnesses who can corroborate your story, it will strengthen our case. As we continued to plan our next steps, I felt a sense of empowerment building inside me. I was no longer the victim. I was taking control of my life. I glanced at Emma, who was eagerly taking notes, and my heart swelled with pride. She was my ally, my support, and I knew I could count on her. After our meeting, we headed back home, the weight of the world lifting slightly off my shoulders. Grandma, you're doing the right thing, Emma said as we drove. They need to be held accountable for what they've done. I know, dear. It's just hard to believe it's come to this, I replied, my voice softening. I never imagined my own children would betray me like this. Sometimes people don't realize how far they'll go until it's too late, Emma said thoughtfully. But you're not alone anymore. You have me. Her words reassured me, and as we pulled into the driveway, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I was ready to stand my ground and fight for my rights. That evening, I decided to confront Michael and Jessica once more. I wanted them to know that I was serious about pursuing this and that I wouldn't back down. As I prepared for their arrival, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. When they walked in, I could see the tension in their faces. What's going on, Mom? Michael asked, his voice guarded. I have evidence of your deceit, I said, my tone steady. I'm taking legal action against you for forgery and theft. You need to understand that this is serious. Their expressions shifted from confusion to anger. You wouldn't do that, Mom, Jessica said, her voice rising. You're just being dramatic. No, I'm being proactive. I won't let you take everything I've worked for, I replied, feeling the strength of my words. You've betrayed my trust, and now you'll have to face the consequences. Michael's face flushed with outrage. This is insane. You're ruining our family over nothing, he shouted. No, Michael, you ruined our family with your actions, I countered. I trusted you, and you took advantage of that trust. I can't allow you to continue. The confrontation escalated, but I stood my ground. I felt empowered, knowing I was fighting for my rights and my dignity. As they stormed out, I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and fear. I had taken a stand, but I knew there was a long road ahead. With Emma by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. I spent the next few days in a haze of determination and anxiety. The confrontation with Michael and Jessica had left me feeling empowered yet apprehensive about what was to come. My heart raced whenever I thought about the upcoming meeting. I knew I had to face them again, but this time I would be armed with evidence and the support of my granddaughter, Emma. On the day of the confrontation, I prepared myself mentally. I dressed carefully, choosing a simple but elegant outfit that made me feel confident. As I looked in the mirror, I whispered to myself, "You are strong. You are not alone." It was a mantra I repeated over and over, trying to drown out the doubts creeping into my mind. When Michael and Jessica arrived, I could see their expressions were guarded. They exchanged uneasy glances, as if they were trying to gauge my mood. "What's this about, Mom?" Michael asked, his voice strained. "Sit down," I replied, my tone firm. "We need to talk about what's been happening." As they settled into their seats, I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "I've spoken with a lawyer," I began, watching their reactions closely. "And I have evidence of the forgeries and unauthorized transactions." Their faces paled, and I could see the tension in their shoulders. "What evidence?" Jessica asked, her voice trembling slightly. I slid the folder across the table toward them, feeling a surge of adrenaline. This is everything. Bank statements, documents with forged signatures, and Emma's notes about your conversations. You can deny it all you want, but the truth is here. Michael's eyes darted to the folder, and he shook his head. You're making a mistake, Mom. You can't trust Emma. She's just a kid trying to stir up trouble. Don't underestimate her, I shot back, my voice steady. She's been my ally through all of this, and she's helped me uncover the truth. I won't let you manipulate me any longer. Jessica leaned forward, her expression shifting from anger to desperation. You're tearing this family apart over nothing, Judith. We were just trying to help you manage your finances. You don't understand what's at stake. What's at stake? I echoed, my heart racing. You mean your access to my money, your ability to take advantage of me. I trusted you both, and now I see the betrayal for what it is. The air was thick with tension as I watched their expressions morph from defiance to fear. Mom, you don't want to go down this road, Michael warned, his voice low. It'll destroy everything. No, you've already destroyed everything, I replied, my voice rising as I felt the anger bubbling to the surface. You've betrayed the very trust that binds us as a family. I won't allow you to take anything from me without a fight. They exchanged a glance, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something, fear, perhaps. I pressed on, feeling emboldened. I'm filing a complaint for forgery. I'll be taking this to court if necessary. You need to understand that this isn't just a threat, it's a promise. Michael's face twisted in anger, and he stood up abruptly. You think you can just throw us out like that? We're your family. Family doesn't steal from each other, I replied, my voice steady. You've made your choices, and now you'll have to face the consequences. The confrontation escalated, voices raised, emotions running high. It was a battle of wills, and for the first time, I felt like I was holding my ground. I could see the cracks forming in their facade, the panic creeping into their eyes as they realized I wouldn't back down. Suddenly, Jessica's voice broke through the chaos. You'll regret this, Judith. You don't know what you're doing. I felt a chill run down my spine at her words. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in a long while, I said, my voice unwavering. And I will not be silenced or intimidated. As they gathered their things to leave, the weight of the confrontation hung heavy in the air. This isn't over, Mom, Michael threatened as he walked out, slamming the door behind him. I stood there, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I had finally taken a stand, but I knew the battle was far from over. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety wash over me. I had confronted my children, but now I had to prepare for the next step. Emma rushed to my side, her eyes wide with concern. Are you okay, Grandma? I'm okay, sweetie, I replied, nodding. It was tough, but I did what I needed to do. Now we just have to stay strong and follow through. She smiled, her confidence shining through. We're in this together, right? Absolutely, I said, pulling her into a hug. Thank you for being my voice when I needed it most. As we stood there, the reality of what lay ahead sank in. I was ready to fight for my rights, to reclaim my life. With Emma by my side, I felt stronger than ever. The days following the confrontation were like navigating through a storm. I felt the emotional fallout from my confrontation with Michael and Jessica weighing heavily on me. They had left in a whirlwind of anger, and I could sense the tension in the air even when they weren't around. I kept replaying the confrontation in my mind, my heart racing at the memory of their hostility. I spent the next few days gathering the evidence I would need to support my case. Emma and I worked tirelessly, combing through documents and building a timeline of events. We made copies of the forged signatures, the suspicious bank statements, and Emma's notes about what she had overheard. Each piece of evidence felt like a small victory, a step toward reclaiming my life. But as empowering as those moments were, I also found myself grappling with the emotional toll of the situation. Every time the phone rang, my heart would skip a beat, and I would hope it wasn't one of them calling to argue or manipulate me again. One evening, as I was organizing the papers at the dining table, I heard a knock at the door. My stomach churned at the thought of who it might be. I hesitated for a moment before gathering the courage to open it. When I swung the door open, I was surprised to find Helen standing there, her expression filled with concern. "Judith, I just wanted to check in on you," she said, stepping inside. "How are you holding up?" "I've been better," I admitted, closing the door behind her. "It's been overwhelming. I feel like I'm in a constant state of anxiety." She nodded, understanding reflecting in her eyes. "It's completely normal to feel that way after what you've been through. Have you talked to Michael or Jessica since the confrontation?" "No, and I'm not sure I want to," I replied, my voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. "I'm afraid of what they might say or do. They seem desperate." "That desperation can lead to irrational behavior," Helen warned gently. "You need to stay vigilant, Judith. They may try to manipulate you again." I felt a shiver run down my spine at her words. "I know. That's why I'm determined to follow through with the legal action. I can't let them get away with this." Helen placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You're doing the right thing. Remember, you have support. You're not alone in this fight." As we talked, I felt my resolve strengthen. Helen's presence was grounding, and I appreciated her wisdom. Just as I was beginning to feel a sense of calm, my phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from Michael. "We need to talk. You're making a huge mistake." My heart raced at the message, and I felt a mix of fear and anger rise within me. "Judith, don't engage with them," Helen advised, noticing my reaction. "You've already made your stance clear. You don't owe them anything." "I know," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "But I can't help but worry about what they might do next. I've seen the lengths they'll go to." Helen nodded, her expression serious. "That's why you need to be prepared. The lawyer will help you, but you should also think about what you want to say if they come back to confront you again." Just as I was about to respond, there was another knock at the door. My heart sank. "It's them, isn't it?" I whispered. "Let's see," Helen said, moving toward the door. I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me as she cautiously opened it. To my surprise, it was Emma standing there, her face flushed with urgency. "Grandma, you won't believe what I just found out," she exclaimed, stepping inside. "What is it, Emma?" I asked, my heart racing. "I overheard Michael talking to Jessica. They're planning to come after you legally. They think they can intimidate you into dropping everything," she said breathlessly. "Intimidate me," I echoed, my voice rising. "They really think they can scare me into silence." Emma nodded, determination sparking in her eyes. "They don't know how strong you are, but we can't let them get away with this." I felt a surge of anger mixed with resolve. "No, we can't. I'm not backing down. I'm going to show them that I'm not the weak woman they think I am." Helen placed a hand on my shoulder, her eyes filled with pride. "That's the spirit, Judith. You're stronger than they realize." As we discussed our next steps, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I wouldn't let them take my power away. I had a plan, and with Emma and Helen by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about the battle ahead. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was prepared to fight for my rights. I was done being the victim. I had my granddaughter and my friend supporting me, and together we would uncover the truth. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity and preparation. With Emma by my side, we gathered everything we needed to take action against Michael and Jessica. I felt an unusual mix of fear and anticipation as I prepared for the inevitable fallout. On the morning of the meeting with the lawyer, I awoke early, my mind racing with thoughts of the confrontation to come. I dressed carefully, opting for a blazer that made me feel empowered. I wanted to project strength, even if I didn't feel it inside. "Are you ready, Grandma?" Emma asked as she joined me in the kitchen. Her enthusiasm helped calm my nerves. "I think so, sweetie. I've been waiting for this moment for too long," I replied, pouring myself a cup of coffee. As we drove to the lawyer's office, I went over our strategy in my mind. We would present the evidence, outline the timeline of events, and make it clear that I would not back down. This was my chance to reclaim my narrative, to stand up against the betrayal that had rocked my world. When we arrived, the lawyer greeted us with a firm handshake and a reassuring smile. "Judith M. Ma, it's good to see you again. Are you ready to move forward?" he asked, his tone professional yet warm. "Yes, I am," I said, my voice steady. "I want to take action today. I need to protect myself and my assets." We settled into the meeting, and I laid out the evidence before him. As he reviewed the documents, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I was nervous, but I also felt a sense of empowerment. This was my truth, and I was ready to fight for it. "Judith, this is strong evidence," he said, looking up at me with a serious expression. "We can certainly file a complaint for forgery and theft, but I want you to understand the potential repercussions. Your children may retaliate, and this could become a lengthy legal battle." "I'm prepared for that," I replied, my voice firm. "I won't let them intimidate me into silence. They've already taken so much from me, and I refuse to let them take any more." Emma sat beside me, her support a comforting presence. "We're in this together," she said, her eyes shining with determination. "We won't let them win." The lawyer nodded, impressed by our resolve. "All right, let's proceed with the filing. I'll draw up the necessary documents and we'll move forward from there." As we left the office, a sense of relief washed over me. I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my life, and I felt empowered. But as we drove home, a nagging thought crept into my mind. What would Michael and Jessica do next? That evening, I decided to call Helen for advice. "Judith, I'm glad you're taking action," she said when I shared the news. "But you need to be prepared for the fallout. They may try to manipulate you again or even escalate the situation." "I know," I sighed, rubbing my temples. "I'm just afraid of what they might do. I've invested so much into my family, and now I feel like I'm losing everything." "Remember, Judith, you're not losing everything. You're gaining your independence and your voice," Helen replied gently. "And you have a strong support system. Don't forget that." Her words resonated with me, and I felt the tightness in my chest begin to ease. "Thank you, Helen. I really appreciate your support," I said, my voice filled with gratitude. As the days turned into weeks, I prepared for the legal battle ahead. I spent time with Emma, discussing strategies and reinforcing our bond. I also began to explore new aspects of my life, rediscovering hobbies I had set aside in favor of family obligations. One afternoon, while we were sorting through old boxes in the attic, I stumbled upon a photo album filled with memories of happier times. Flipping through the pages, I felt a rush of nostalgia. There were pictures of family vacations, birthdays, and holidays, moments that had filled my heart with joy. "Look at this one, Grandma," Emma said, pointing to a picture of me with my children at the beach. "You were so happy." I smiled, but the ache of betrayal tugged at my heart. "I was, Emma, but sometimes the people we love the most can hurt us deeply," I said softly. "Yeah, but you're strong and you'll get through this," she replied, her voice filled with conviction. "You're not alone anymore." Her words reminded me of my newfound strength. I was determined to find closure, not just legally, but emotionally. I had to reclaim my narrative, and that meant focusing on my healing as much as my fight for justice. As I prepared for the next legal steps, I decided to reach out to a few close friends to share my story. I wanted to build a network of support beyond just Emma and Helen. Each friend I confided in offered encouragement, sharing their own stories of resilience in the face of betrayal. Finally, the day came when we were set to present our case in court. I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation as we arrived at the courthouse. Emma held my hand tightly, her presence giving me strength. "We're ready for this, Grandma," she said, her voice steady. "Yes, we are," I replied, taking a deep breath. Together, we stepped into the courtroom, ready to face whatever came next. I knew that no matter the outcome, I had already won in so many ways. I had found my voice, my strength, and my community of support. As we entered the courtroom, the atmosphere was charged with tension. I could feel my heart racing, echoing the footsteps I took toward the front of the room. Emma squeezed my hand tighter, her support grounding me as I prepared to face Michael and Jessica once more. They were seated at the opposite table, their expressions a mix of defiance and concern. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of the journey that had brought me here. I was no longer just a victim, I was a woman reclaiming her power. The lawyer stood up, introducing our case to the judge. "Your Honor, today we are here to address allegations of forgery and theft against my client, Judith. We have evidence showing that her adult children, Michael and Jessica, have manipulated her trust to gain access to her financial assets without her consent." As he laid out the evidence, I felt a surge of empowerment. Each document I had painstakingly gathered was now part of a larger narrative. This was my chance to stand up for myself and reclaim my life. Michael shot me an accusatory glare, his anger palpable. "This is ridiculous. My mother is just confused. She doesn't understand what she's doing," he shouted, his voice echoing in the courtroom. "Objection," my lawyer replied calmly, turning to face him. "This is not about confusion, it's about betrayal. Judith is here to reclaim her rights." The judge nodded, signaling for Michael to remain silent. As the proceedings continued, I felt a mix of emotions wash over me, fear, anger, but also hope. I was finally being heard. After laying out the evidence, the lawyer called Emma to the stand. I watched as she confidently recounted the conversations she had overheard, her voice unwavering. "I heard them discussing how they could take money from my grandma without her realizing it," she stated, her eyes fierce with conviction. As she spoke, I felt a swell of pride. This brave young woman was fighting for justice, standing up for me when I felt too weak to do so alone. I could see Michael's face hardening with every word Emma spoke, his denial slipping away as the truth emerged. After Emma finished her testimony, I could see the cracks in Michael and Jessica's facade. They were no longer the confident manipulators, they were cornered. I had to hold on to that strength as the next phase of the trial unfolded. When it was my turn to speak, I took a deep breath. "Your Honor," I began, my voice steady, "I spent my life building a family, teaching my children values of honesty and loyalty. To have them betray that trust has been one of the most painful experiences of my life." I looked directly at Michael and Jessica, who sat stiffly at their table. "I trusted you both. I believed you would always have my back. I never imagined that I would end up here, fighting for my rights against my own children." Tears welled in my eyes, but I blinked them away, determined not to show any weakness. "I have worked hard for everything I have, and I will not let you take it from me. This is not just about money. It's about respect, dignity, and the love we once shared as a family." The courtroom was silent, and I could feel the weight of my words sinking in. I had found my voice, and I was reclaiming my narrative. As the trial progressed, the evidence began to pile up against Michael and Jessica. They attempted to argue their way out of the situation, but their defenses crumbled under the weight of the truth. Witnesses who had seen the forgeries came forward, and my lawyer skillfully dismantled their claims. Finally, the judge announced a recess, allowing us a moment to breathe. Emma and I stepped outside, the cool air hitting our faces like a refreshing wave. "You did amazing, Grandma," Emma beamed, her smile infectious. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, pride swelling in my chest. "You were my rock through all of this." As we sat on a bench outside the courthouse, I reflected on everything that had happened. This journey had been filled with pain, but it had also shown me my strength. I realized that I was not just fighting for my assets. I was fighting for my sense of self and the respect I deserved. When the trial resumed, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I was ready for the final verdict, knowing that I had fought fiercely for my truth. I had the support of my granddaughter, my friends, and now, a newfound sense of empowerment. As the judge delivered the verdict, I held my breath. "In light of the evidence presented, I find in favor of Judith," he declared. "The forgeries are confirmed, and I will order restitution for the funds taken without her consent." A wave of relief washed over me, and I felt tears of joy fill my eyes. I had won, not just in court, but in reclaiming my life. I turned to Emma, who was beaming with pride. "We did it!" she exclaimed, throwing her arms around me. "Yes, we did," I replied, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. I had faced my deepest fears and emerged victorious, stronger than I had ever been. As we left the courthouse, I knew that this was just the beginning. I had a long road ahead, but I was ready to embrace whatever came next. I was no longer just a victim of betrayal. I was a survivor, empowered to shape my own destiny. As I reflect on this journey, I realize how far I've come. The battle against betrayal is never easy, especially when it involves those we love most. But through this experience, I have learned the importance of standing up for myself and reclaiming my voice. There were moments when fear threatened to overwhelm me, when I questioned my judgment and my worth. Yet, with the unwavering support of my granddaughter Emma and my dear friend Helen, I found the strength to confront truth. I learned that it's not just about the financial loss, it's about the emotional toll that betrayal takes on our hearts. I encourage anyone facing similar challenges to seek support, to trust in their instincts, and to remember that they are not alone. The love of family should never be weaponized, and you have the right to protect what is yours. If you've experienced betrayal, I urge you to share your story. Your voice matters. Let's build a community where we can support one another through these difficult times. Please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can empower each other to rise above betrayal and find our strength. As I move forward, I carry with me the lessons learned from this painful chapter. I will continue to advocate for myself and others, ensuring that we never forget the power of resilience, love, and truth.